Hey guys, it's Jackie. Welcome back to my channel. So, I originally had planned on doing a book outlet haul before the holiday. I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving weekend to my American subscribers, and for the rest of you guys, I hope you just had a lovely week. I had meant to do a book outlet haul before the holiday week, but then I went home to my family's house for Thanksgiving break, where I got to enjoy all the full advantages of Black Friday and Cyber Monday in a way that was terribly, horribly irresponsible of me, and I should not have done. So as a consequence of that, I now have a massive, deeply misguided book haul. So I thought I would go ahead and just do a general book haul instead of just a book outlet haul. The book outlet books will still be included in this. They're down there in their box. So I guess I'll just go ahead and get started, jumping right into the massive amounts of piles of books that I dragged home with me back to my apartment. So, alright, so the first couple of books I got actually weren't purchases. These were just things that my mom passed down to me. My mom also is a voracious reader and has a tendency of handing off her books once she's done with them. So I got a number of mystery thrillers that I've been kind of wanting to pick up anyway, but now I don't have to, which is really great. So a lot of them are big Booktube favorites at the moment, so none of these will seem like super exciting or surprising to you guys, I don't think. And that's An Anonymous Girl, The Woman in the Window, and the newest one, The Family Upstairs, which this is the one that I was the most intrigued about. Again, I'm trying to go into these as spoiler-free as possible. I kind of want to try to go into mysteries unspoiled as possible, but this one sounded kind of gothic and interesting, so I already kind of had this on my Amazon wish list, and my mom just had a copy, so hey. So while I was at Barnes & Noble, I picked up a copy of Ghost Boys. This is, I believe, can't remember if it's middle grade or children's. I think it might just be children's. It's a young reader, certainly. And this is about police brutality. And it's about a young African-American boy who's shot dead by the police and his ghost, which kind of reminded me very much of, similar structure-wise to something like The Lovely Bones. And it really intrigued me both as someone who takes a kind of vested interest in American politics, but also, again, I'm writing my dissertation on monstrosity. I'm writing my dissertation about queer monsters in particular, and the ways that monsters have been reclaimed by queer communities and other marginalized communities, and I'm really interested. I have a whole chapter that's going to be about ghosts and the undead, and I'm curious to see, again, just how this is not a queer reader, but how this is being articulated kind of full scale, how things like undeath are being navigated in fiction by and for more marginalized communities in the United States. This should be a really tough read, but an interesting read. The next thing I picked up, also while I was in Barnes & Noble, was a number of, hold on, they're all falling, was a number of YA novels. I read an awful lot of YA, and these are a few that I've been meaning to pick up for a while, and they were there, and my mom offered to get me my Christmas presents early this year, which was an offer I could not really refuse, honestly. So some of these I have really mixed feelings about. Serpent and Dove, whoa, the light on that. The Serpent and Dove, I don't know if I'm gonna love or hate this. This feels like a book I could either really enjoy or really, really, really hate. And that has a lot to do with the romance at the center of it, and whether or not, just how that goes. The fact that it's being blurbed by Sarah J. Maas kind of makes me a little bit nervous in that regard. So we'll see with this one. One I think I am definitely going to enjoy is More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. Been meaning to pick up a copy of this forever. I know it's going to be a really bittersweet read, which is why I've been kind of putting it off. However, this is way too interesting. I love Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I love queer YA. Definitely going to give this one a shot. Try not to be really sad about it, but I'm probably going to be. And then also queer YA is We Are the Lost and Found, which I don't know an awful lot about other than I had my friend Megan with me when we were in the bookstore, and she picked this up and started describing it to me, and it sounded too interesting for me to pick up too. It's set in the 1980s. As I understand it, there's a pair of brothers, both of whom I think are queer, which I'm always a sucker for queer siblings, which is something that happens so often in life, but is so rarely articulated in fiction. I think they're both queer, and it's just them navigating the 1980s, obviously with the specter of AIDS looming on the horizon. So this is more of a... probably another really dark read. I'm really sad. Like, all of my queer YA so far sounds really sad. I promise it's not all super sad. Although I think everything... oh no, there is a happy one in here. I promise. There is a happy one. I prefer, you know, happy queer things. Oh my god, these are starting to like pile up, so I'm gonna move them over there. Okay. Alright, the last YA novel that I picked up while I was in Barnes & Noble is The Hearts We Sold by Emily Lloyd Jones. This was an Owl Crate book a while ago. I wasn't subscribed at the time, so I didn't get a copy of it. It sounded kind of intriguing to me. It's a romance about people who've sold their hearts in some kind of Faustian bargain to this demon, question mark. Which I was kind of intrigued a little bit, but ultimately decided to kind of pass on it. However, I did just read Emily Lloyd Jones's The Bone Houses, which was the Owl Crate book a couple months back, which I really, really liked, actually, which is surprising because it was high fantasy, and I'm like, I really liked this. It was Welsh high fantasy, which I kind of dig, just because it's doing something different. So I thought I would go ahead and give this a shot because I really enjoyed the romance at the center of The Bone Houses. And again, I don't normally enjoy MF romances that much, so that gave me a little bit more faith in this. All right, and then the next thing I picked up, this was a Black Friday deal. This was an Amazon deal that was get 3 for the price of 2. So I picked up a couple books that I've been kind of meaning to get for a while now. The first of which is Wake Siren by Nina McLaughlin. I've already read this. I received this as an e-arc on NetGalley, and I really liked it. I liked it so much. So basically Wake Siren is Wake Siren Ovid resung. So this is a retelling of a number of different stories from Ovid's Metamorphoses, told by the perspectives of some of the heroines of the Metamorphoses, and it is very feminist and very, very angry. As you can probably tell that Medusa is on the cover. That's usually a signal, right? So this is very much about a lot of the victims of sexual assault in the Metamorphoses, and retelling their stories from their perspectives, often engaging with discourses about the fact that a lot of these stories have been kind of romanticized by Western culture for a millennia, and how troubling that is. So this book is, it's very experimental, it's very feminist, it's very angry, it's very cathartic in a lot of ways. I really love Greco-Roman mythology. I really love the Metamorphoses a lot. I think it's fascinating. I've taught it several times. I really wish that this had been out earlier, because I just taught Ovid in spring, and this wasn't out yet. And I just love the cover. It's so stunning. Like, I really like it a lot. I highly recommend picking this one up. Again, very difficult subject matter. Almost every story is about sexual assault. Almost all of them, which again, if you've read the Metamorphoses, is like, yeah, there's a lot of sexual assault in the Metamorphoses and in mythology wholesale. And so this is very interested in, again, a feminist recovery project of rearticulating those stories from the perspectives of the women who have been silenced in those stories. So I really liked this a lot. And I'm glad, again, you know I really like a book when I read the e-arc and then I actually have to like pick up the finished copy, because yes, absolutely. All right, and then the two other ones I got are a little bit, well, I shouldn't say a little bit, a lot lighter than Wake Siren. I got The Kingdom, which again, I'm curious about. It's about androids at a theme park. It's kind of like Disney Princess Westworld, which I'm kind of like, okay. Like, again, science fiction and I aren't always the bestest of friends. However, I thought that this was kind of interesting. as someone who's grown up going to Disney parks pretty much my whole life, I couldn't resist this one. And then the happy queer YA that I promised would be here, which is A Gentleman's Guide to Getting Lucky, which this is a kind of midquel to The Gentleman's Guide of Vice and Virtue series. It's just basically, as I understand it, about Monty and Percy on an island being lovey-dovey. And I'm like, that's exactly the kind of thing I would like. It's super small. It's just a novella, but I'm definitely gonna enjoy reading this one. I need to read the rest of that series, actually, because I know it has asexual representation, which, hi. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and read this one first, because this is like 1.5 in the series or whatever, and then move on to number 2. And then number 3 comes out next year, which I'm really excited about that one too. Oh my god. So I picked this one up at Books A Million. This is A Secret History of Witches, which is historical fiction fantasy about this sweeping historical saga that traces 5 generations of fiercely powerful mothers and daughters. Again, I really love magical realism. I really love magical realist family epics, like intergenerational family epics that have to do with magic. So I'm hoping I will enjoy this one. Historical fiction is also a genre that I'm kind of hit or miss on. Sometimes I really, really love it. And sometimes I'm just like, I would usually rather read historical nonfiction. And that probably makes me like mega nerd, but I would usually rather read nonfiction than fiction, especially about things like the Holocaust and things like that. WW2, historical fiction, and I don't really get along. I don't know why. I would just rather read history and memoir from that period. But this looked really interesting. I thought I would go ahead and pick it up. Again, I'm writing my dissertation on monsters. I do have a chapter on witchcraft, so I'm just kind of like gobbling up so many things just so I can kind of keep my my critical brain in that space as much as possible. She said, as she picked up a book that literally has nothing to do with any of that. This is just Christmas Shopaholic by Sophie Kinsella. I really love the Shopaholic series. I've loved them since I was 12 years old. I did not enjoy the last 2, but I do like this one. I read this one also on NetGalley as an e-arc, and liked it enough that I did pick up a copy from Target, which was on sale. So yeah, I really like these books. These books are really fun. I really love Luke, Brandon, the love interest in it. He strikes the exact correct balance of like Mr. Darcy. You know how some like YA, I don't want to talk about YA, although that's actually an interesting Freudian slip. You know how some love interest in chick lit and YA romance, they tend to be a little too abusive, standoffish, nasty, more of a Mr. Rochester than a Darcy, which I don't like. But Luke strikes more of a fine balance of like an actual Darcy, just where he's just kind of stuffy. And I love him so much. Every time he's on page, I'm like so happy. And every time he's not, I'm like, where's Luke? Please bring him back. He makes me laugh a lot. All right. And then this last one, before we get to the book outlet haul, which is kind of a weird one, is Wonders Will Never Cease by Robert Irwin. I picked this one up in an Ollie's outlet for a couple bucks. It's a fantasy about the War of the Roses, and there's, I think, maybe like time travel in it. I'm not really sure. It was just enough weird little things that I do like the War of the Roses, and it's like, okay, it's kind of like fantastical, and I'm like, okay, maybe. I'll give this one a try, maybe. Gaiman blurbed it, so I'm like, okay, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Alright, the next part of this video is just the book outlet haul that I meant to do before the holiday but didn't have a chance to do, which was a really foolish book outlet haul that I should not have made, especially since I just made another one over the weekend, which that's mostly Christmas presents for people, so I don't think I'm going to do an unboxing of that one. But I really love Book Outlet. I can't recommend Book Outlet enough. If you're not familiar with Book Outlet, it is a book surplus marketplace online, where Book Outlet is basically selling remainder copies of books. So surplus copies of books that we just have too many of these in print. And we're trying to kind of blow them out a little bit. So you can get a lot of really incredible books for just a couple of dollars. I do have, this isn't sponsored at all, of course, but I do have an affiliate code that I'll put in the description below that's something like $5 off your first order of $25 or more, or something to that effect. But if you do want to go ahead and use it to set up a Book Outlet account, I really highly recommend it. I get a lot of books from Book Outlet, which is really useful for me because evidence to the contrary, I try to usually be careful with money because I'm an academic and I'm reading so much all the time. I usually have to rely on the library system or inexpensive used books. And again, these aren't used, these are new, they're just dirt cheap. Like most of the books in this box I got for a couple of dollars. So, great deal. Especially, you also get student discounts on Book Outlet. If you sign up, you get 10% off. They often have promotions, coupons, things like that. I can't recommend it highly enough. But anyway, I'm going to stop blabbing about that and just break into the box. The first book is Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield. This is also historical fantasy, magical realism. Again, I think it's up for a couple awards on like the Goodreads Awards or something. It sounded kind of intriguing to me. It's a historical magical realist mystery. If I got this right, it has my hair stuck in it because everything always has my hair stuck in it. Always. Oh my gosh. As I understand it, like this strange girl shows up on the banks of the riverbank outside of this village, and then it's just about us trying to figure out, okay, where did this girl come from? And like 3 different families are all saying that she belongs to them. I really dig magical realism where people come out of the water. I've taught Beloved more times than I can possibly count, so this one really intrigued me. And it's also just a really cool cover. The next one is Pack by Mike Bakoven. Again, I'm writing my chapter right now, actually, on werewolves. So this intrigued me. Pack, which is just about a town full of werewolf boys. So I'm like, okay, sounds great to me. I don't know much more about the plot. I got this for like $2 and I'm like, I will read. It is an adult horror novel, but it is about teenage boys, as I understand it. I'm always here for teenage werewolves. Like, they're my fave. Okay, and then I have a couple, I guess kind of similar books, in that they're YA murder mysteries. So I picked up The Cheerleaders and People Like Us. They even have like kind of similar covers. So both of these are murder mysteries. Again, these are kind of favorites on Booktube or have been circulating around Booktube for a while. I haven't had a chance to pick up a copy. I kind of waited, especially on this one when it first came out, because I knew it would probably show up on Book Outlet, and sure enough, it did, for a fraction of the original price. As I understand it, this is a murder mystery about a squad of cheerleaders, and then like years later, the last remaining cheerleader has to kind of figure out the crime, and then she's put in peril. And then this one I know less about. I just know that it's a murder at a boarding school. I love dark academia so much. Probably because I am an academic. I'm slamming these. Probably because I am an academic. I find dark academic books like really cathartic. So things like Ninth House and The Secret History. Anything with academics kind of behaving badly, like I always think is kind of a trip. And weirdly cathartic that it's like, academia is a cult. And I'm like, you're right. Hi, you're right. Anyway, let's go down. I'm going to incriminate myself probably in case any of my professors see this. They'll be like, a cult, you say? All right. So, Only the Dead Know Burbank by Bradford Tatum. This is kind of a weird read that I just saw randomly and picked up just because I really love the golden age of Hollywood. I think it's really interesting, especially any text that acknowledges just how gothic and horrible the golden age of Hollywood actually was. You know, the studio system was pretty evil and terrible, and Hollywood was a very, very dark place in the 20s and 30s. And so this is a zombie novel, as I understand it. A young girl awakens in a hastily dug grave, vague memories of blood and fever. Her mother performing a mysterious ceremony before the world went away. And it's set in the 1920s, and it's making a lot. Oh, actually, no, it might be in the 40s. It's making a lot of references to a lot of classic horror film, which I really enjoy. Like, I love Weimar cinema from Germany, like German Expressionism, so Nosferatu and the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. I really love the Universal horror movies, which this one features pretty intensely. So things like, like Dracula, Frankenstein, Phantom of the Opera, The Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon, which is a personal favorite. So this looked like a fun read. I went ahead and picked up. This is just a silly one. This is The Coloring Book for Goth. This is the world's most depressing book. Just, you have to have a hobby, you know? And then this one is kind of a silly one. This is, I got this for like $1. Robert Louis Stevenson's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I already have several copies of Jekyll and Hyde. I have an academic copy of Jekyll and Hyde, which is the one I usually use. I wanted to pick this one up because I wanted a copy for my dark academia shelf, because I have a whole bookcase that's just dark academic texts about, again, boarding school and university and mad scientists and just, again, academics behaving badly. And I really wanted a copy of Jekyll and Hyde on this shelf, but I wanted to keep my academic editions. My academic edition of Jekyll and Hyde with my other academic editions of 19th century Gothic literature. I have a whole shelf on a bookcase that's just like 19th century Gothic, and that's where I wanted to keep it. So I got her. And then I got Anna Marie McLemore's The Weight of Feathers. I have been also, like with Ruth Ware, collecting Anna Marie McLemore's books with the intention of binging them, because I kind of did this backwards. I read a copy of Dark and Deepest Red, an e-arc on NetGalley again, which is the next book that they're publishing. I think it comes out in January. So I read McLemore's latest book first, and I loved it. It's so good. God, it was so good. I loved it to bits. And so I immediately have been went out and just went on Book Outlet and have been slowly collecting all of her other novels, like Wild Beauty and The Weight of Feathers. This one sounded really cute to me. It's about two circus families who have been warring for a generation. I think there's a romance at the center of it. I'm really here for this. I really, really love magical realism. I really like McLemore's handle on it. I think that McLemore just does such a good job. I mean, I can't wait to read Wild Beauty. My friend, again, Megan, just read Wild Beauty, and she's been talking about it. She taught it, actually, and she just loves it so much. And so I'm looking forward to reading the rest of Anna Marie McLemore's texts. Oh, and then there's only a couple left. Oh, thank God. Okay. Another weird 19th century bit of Gothic. Oh, hold on. This is so strange. There we go. Confessions of an English Opium Eater by Thomas de Quincey. This is a memoir from the early 19th century by de Quincey, who was a nobleman and a laudanum addict. And it's just about his adventures being a laudanum addict in 19th century England, which I think is really interesting. I study the long 19th century, which just means everything from the Romantic period in the 1780s, 1790s, all the way up through the 1910s, 1920s. And this sounded like a lot of fun. I really like the Romantics, and their utterly bizarre world outlook, which had a lot to do with all of the laudanum they were doing. So I thought that this would be kind of interesting. And I didn't have a copy, so there's that. And then the last two are Shauna Maguire's Middle Game, which I've been meaning to pick up a copy. I was really happy to see this pop up on Book Outlet. I've been slowly reading my way through the Wayward Children series. I really love it so far. So I thought while this was on Book Outlet, I'd go ahead and grab a copy, since I know that it got pretty good reviews. I think it's about if I understand correctly, I keep saying, if I understand correctly, I have my teacher voice on. If I understand correctly, it's about a pair of twins, Roger and Dodger, who are X-Men, mutants, something, that they have these special abilities. And that's all I know, which is fine going into this. Again, I like going into books kind of unspoiled. I so rarely get to in the reading I have to do for, I was about to say for life, and that was really sad. For school, for work, I don't always get to go into things unspoiled, because some of those are 150 years old. It's you know what he's keeping in the attic upstairs, Jane. Anyway. All right, and then this is the last one, also a very weird one. This is called The Pisces, by Melissa Broder. And this is also about an academic who, if I'm understanding correctly, meets a fish man on a beach and maybe has a romance with him. It's all very Shape of Water, so that intrigued me. So I picked that up. I always love me a good Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I really love Shape of Water. I just taught Shape of Water in spring, so I thought this one would be fun. Anyway, all right, so thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Again, check out Book Outlet using the link below if you're interested. Again, I highly recommend it. Really, I got at least half of this haul for so little money. I can't recommend it enough if you're you're a student, especially because again, not only is it cheap, you get an additional 10% off if you sign up. You have to look at the bottom of the web page for where it says like student discount and follow the instructions, because of course it's like buried at the bottom, but you should look for it and you'll get an extra 10% off. 10%. So I'll see you guys next time. That's it. I'm going to try not to be crushed under the toppling Jenga stacks of my purchases this holiday season. Okay, bye.